What is going on, Raptors Nation? It is Luca here back with another video. The Toronto Raptors lose again. They dropped their fourth straight game. They've now lost 6 of their last 7. The Raptors are 9-14, 5 games under 500, and the Raptors are now 0-7 against the Atlantic Division. Things are not looking good for this Raptors team as the season is slipping away fast. The Raptors lose to the Knicks once again in New York. The Knicks put up 136 points. The Raptors, who have made an identity and name for themselves on the defensive end over the last couple of seasons, their defense has been non-existent over this losing streak as the Raptors let Julius Randle look like an absolute superstar. He had 34 points on 14 of 21 shooting from the field. Jalen Brunson, who was questionable going into this game, had 21. And then RJ Barrett had 27. Those three had monstrous games. And then in the first meeting the Raptors had against the Knicks, it was Dante DiVincenzo that absolutely burned the Raptors with the 3 ball. This game, it was Quentin Grimes, who recently got benched by the Knicks. But in 27 minutes of action, he was huge. 19 points, had 5 3-pointers made on 5 of 7 shooting. He was a plus 10. As the Raptors lose this game despite all 5 starters finishing in double figures. Malachi Flynn had 10 from off the bench as well. But the Raptors just couldn't get stops when they needed to. Their 3-ball was not there in the first half. It did start to come alive a little bit in the second half. Raptors did do a much better job shooting the basketball in the second half. They did finish 49% overall from the field and 35.9% overall from 3. But like I said, they couldn't make stops when they absolutely needed to. And the Knicks, they just absolutely torched the Raptors. 60.5% from the field. And the Knicks shot at 58.6% from 3. Everything was falling for New York. This was the case when the Raptors took on the Knicks December 1st. I mean, if a team is going to shoot that well, you leave yourself very little room for error. And the Raptors, their free throw struggles continued as they shot at 22 of 30 from the line. It's funny, they actually shot it better at the line than the Knicks, and they still lost this game. Raptors, rebounded in this one. Knicks, more assists than the Raptors, +4. Knicks had more turnovers. Knicks had more points in the paint. And the Knicks' largest lead was 10. Largest lead for the Raptors was 3, as OG Anunoby led all Raptors scorers with 29. Scotty Barnes had 20 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. Siakam had 20. Poeltl had 11. Dennis Schroeder had 20 points, 10 assists, 4 steals. And then the bench, I mean, that was a huge discrepancy in this one. The Knicks bench outscored the Raptors bench once again, just like their first meeting. Grimes had 19, Hart 16, McBride 3, Hartenstein 11, compared to Dick, who did get called up by Raptors 905. He only had 2. Gary Trent Jr. continues to struggle. 2 of 8 from the field. He only had 4. Malachi Flynn was the best bench player, like I said, with 10. Achua had 9, and Chris Boucher had 5. As the Raptors are now 3-8 on the road, and they will now take on an Atlanta Hawks team that is also reeling in a 2-game set beginning on Wednesday. So you look at the Toronto Raptors, guys, it is not looking good. And, this thing continues to get out of hand, and the same type of problems keep on coming up. The Raptors not shooting the ball well in the first half. They didn't. I know they came alive a little bit in the second half, but their defense has not been good. They've been giving up north of 116 points per game over this losing streak. And, they just can't get a win right now. And we're seeing this team just have spurts where they do not look good. It's like they'll have moments where they come back, come alive, and then the other team will make a run. And we saw it in this game against the Knicks, particularly in that fourth quarter when the Knicks separated themselves a little bit. So, I mean, it is just disappointing to see. And I mean, we do have a big enough sample size to start making some realizations about this team. And I know I have been doing that way before this loss, but you just look at the numbers, you look at the losses, how they've happened, these winnable games slipping away, Raptors not being able to beat teams in their own division, beat teams in their own conference. I know a lot of people are quick to blame Dennis Schroeder. Darko Rajakovic. And look, I'm not saying they've been perfect. Darko Rajakovic continues, here and there to make questionable decisions. And it's obviously a learning curve for him as a rookie head coach. And Dennis Schroeder, he's had tendencies of he tries to do too much and tries to play hero ball. But you can't look at a game like this and blame Dennis Schroeder, when he had 20 points, 10 assists, 4 steals. And also, you can't blame Darko Rajakovic when the starters deliver. They all score in double figures. 4 of the 5 starters score 20 or more points, by the way. And then the bench does nothing, and your bench gets outscored. No, the issue, guys, the problem, stemming back to last season, is the roster construction. The Raptors roster construction is the main problem on this team. And people can scapegoat Darko, Dennis, as much as they want to, just like they did Nick Nurse and Fred VanVleet. But the reality is this roster just ain't it. And it is time for a shakeup, and people are starting to realize it. You're hearing the rumors get louder and louder. Shams put out a piece. I did a video on it earlier today. Teams are going to be interested in Siakam and Anunoby. The Raptors, they tried to give this roster, this group, the benefit of the doubt, but 9-14, playing worse than they did a season ago during this time. It doesn't look like they're going to turn things around. They can't beat teams in their own conference. They can't beat teams ahead of them. They can't even beat teams below them, as they lost to the Hornets on Friday. And remember, 2 of the Raptors' 9 wins were barely wins against the Spurs and Wizards, who are 2 of the worst teams in the last decade that we have seen so far. So, the point is, this Raptors team, they're just not good right now. And it comes from management's reluctancy of looking at this roster and making a big-time change when needed, because, the shooting has been horrendous. And in order for your shooting to be good, you need players who can hit shots, who can consistently hit the 3. OG Anunoby's been the best 3-point shooter. Gary Trent Jr. has been inconsistent. I know people are going to say, start him. I don't think that's going to turn a season around as people think it is. Gary Trent Jr., his confidence is not there, and his shot isn't falling. And then you just have inconsistency from 3 from these other guys. So this thing just continues to get worse and worse for the Raptors, and it's becoming inevitable, guys, as this December continues. I know we're not going to realistically get a big change until the new year when contracts become tradable after December 15th, but this thing continues to slip. These losses continue to pile up. These same issues continue to rise. I mean, it's time for Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster to really look at this group and tweak it, because this is just getting bad. And, the Raptors, their defense, like I said, that's like the most concerning part here. Their defense hasn't even looked good. And that was the one thing you knew was going to at least be average coming in. You knew this team was going to have issues scoring the basketball. You just hoped for the best. But you at least gave this group the benefit of the doubt that at the very least, they would show up defensively, and that's not even happening right now. So the vibes are completely lost. This team's confidence is shot. And right now, they need a change. It's as simple as that. So we will see what happens, guys. But what was your reaction to this loss against the Knicks? What do you think the Raptors should do from here? Let me know your thoughts. Hit a like on the video. It helps it a ton. Please subscribe to the channel for more Raptors post-game videos just like this and other content that I drop on the channel. That is it for me. This is Lucas signing off. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you all again in the next one. Stay safe.